Hi, my name is Michael Rhodes, and I want to talk today a bit about the eternal self. I mention this a lot through these various talks, because as I've said, you cannot separate them. But what is this eternal self? Of course, the eternal self is you. That's who it is. You are the eternal self. But the personal self goes up into the brain and starts thinking, well, if I'm an eternal self, why am I not aware of that? Why do I have fears? I mean, that's a good question, isn't it? Why do you have fear? If you're an eternal being, why would you have fear? Well, that gets interesting because that is by living in a state of separation and isolation. Because we believe that each person is separate from everybody else. Because we look across the space between us and we see this other body, this other personality, this other person, this other identity who has a name that is different from ours. So therefore, they can't be us. And on that level, they're not us. But on a deeper level, an energetic level, the level of energy, the level of consciousness, we are one. And if we are one, then where do you end and the other person begins? The eternal being of energy you are. Where do you end and the other person begins? Where do you draw a demarcation line? This is where I end, sorry, that's where you begin. And in fact, you cannot. And if you're in a crowd of people, there's nowhere where you end and they begin. And if you're bothered by the crowd, then you're bothered by yourself. And you're the sort of person who then goes out into the countryside and you feel at peace. And you're probably thinking, well, that's you. But you see, if you're at peace in the countryside, then your environment has created your peace. And if you're disturbed in the city, then your environment has created the disturbance. That's how you look at it. But therefore, you have not created any peace at all. The environment gave you the peace in the countryside, and the crowd gave you the disturbance in the city. So where do you come in? Where are you going to create? So when you can be in a city and you feel completely a deep inner peace, the crowds can't touch your inner peace, your inner quiet, your inner silence. They can't touch it. They can jostle you around and be shouting. It cannot touch it. Then yes, you can go to the countryside, but not because you need the environment to make you feel peaceful, because you like to walk in the countryside and connect with a completely different type of energy, an energy that lives in the moment, an energy that is conscious all the time. And so, as eternal beings, these are lessons we have to learn. And we keep incarnating to learn these lessons. I personally do not like to live in a city. A city is not an environment I enjoy, but I can be in a city and in those crowds, and seriously, it doesn't touch me. They do not make me feel tired. It does not get me. If I was standing there for a month, which is never going to happen, with people all around me jostling, maybe I would get a bit sick of it. But it's just not the environment that I thrive in. And I've talked to people who live in cities and say, wow, I love it. New Yorkers are so well known for it. They love New York. And out in the country, oh my God, all those bugs and animals, and no, why do I want to be out there? And so they're not disturbed by their environment. They have other problems. And so, once again, if you're attached to the city, and frightened of the environment, the natural environment, that doesn't work either. So we're eternal beings on a quest. So what do I mean by eternal? I'm not going to go into this, it's too long and involved to explain. But a soul begins its journey in a timeless state. The whole of a soul's foreverness is in eternity. There is no linear time. We use linear time on this earth to create cause and effect. And we have a biology that tends to show the passing of linear time. So linear time is very necessary for us. But as eternal souls, there are times when we don't need linear time. For instance, when you leave your body, every night you go to sleep and you move into your astral body. And your astral body moves away from your physical body. And if it didn't, you would be in big trouble, because your whole nervous system needs to rest, because the astral body draws energy from your nervous and your glandular system repairs it. And so when the astral body goes out, it's no longer in linear time. All time occupies the same moment. I call it spherical time. You can call it what you like. And so the astral body goes away. So often, as you get more evolved, it will learn powerful lessons that you bring back and remember and put into your physical life. We truly are astral beings. We're not physical beings on a physical plane and just physical. We are metaphysical beings. This is the eternal beings we are. And in fact, we are astral beings living on an astral plane. It might interest you to know, and I won't be going into this, there are over 300 levels of three-dimensional reality. We're in one of them. And don't get concerned, you don't have to go through the whole lot. That would not be nice. And some of those three-dimensional levels are a much higher expression of consciousness than we are, and some of them are a much lower level of consciousness than we are. Trust me, you would not want to be on some of them. We're in a sort of a midway situation, and we're exactly where we should be, each one of us. And so eternal beings and eternity, I know if you notice, the mind can't deal with eternity. It sort of blanks off a bit. And so the only way it can deal with it is coming up with concepts. Concepts of what eternity is. They're all wrong. Because it's left brain that's looking. Right brain is very comfortable with eternity. But left brain will only create concepts of eternity. And because it doesn't experience eternity, they will all be wrong. And so we are eternal beings. Long before we came to this earth now, we were human. We've done human for quite a long while in different shapes and forms and different persuasions. We have been through nature. We have been, this is most of us, well yes, all of us. We have been gas, we have been minerals, we have been particles. We have moved through the growth of consciousness as it expresses through every form that is a fraction higher. And we've taken millennia to do this. The step from the animal kingdom to the human kingdom is an interesting one, because there is a step, but it's a multiple step. Because as humans we have imagination. Animals do not have imagination. Not the smartest, cleverest dog. It has intelligence, it's conscious, and it can reason very well. Especially some dogs and some of the higher apes. They can do good reasoning, but they do not have pure imagination, where they can imagine what isn't. Nikola Tesla was a wonderful example of that. He could imagine what isn't and literally create it from his head. He didn't need to put it into a blueprint. And so with imagination, we have, therefore, we create our own life. We create our lives. And there are many, many steps through the development from the animal kingdom, the development of our astral body, the development of our etheric body, and the development of our body and various astral levels until we can reach the point where we can embrace imagination. Because the moment you're into imagination, you're a creator. And only one thing we create is our life. So we are eternal beings. You don't do this overnight. You don't just do it as a job. This is who you are and what you're about. Making money, yes, of course we need to make money. We need a roof. This is the way we created our lives. We need food and we need a degree of comfort. Most people want far too much comfort, and comfort creates stagnation. In the third world, there's nowhere near enough comfort, and in their own way they're stagnating. We've managed to find stagnation in every way, because when you're completely resigned and totally defeated, and you're completely resigned that your life will be short and you'll never have anything, then you're in the place of defeat, and you can keep repeating that. And so you need eternity when we keep repeating the same mistakes over and over. History repeats itself, and we are our own history. And yes, of course, there's far more people now on the planet than there's ever been, but you see souls come in from other places where they've been on other levels of three-dimensional reality. And so it's a big one. And if you try to understand it all, what you finally understand won't be what it is. It comes from the moment. You've got to move into the moment and allow the moment to what's the word I'm after? The moment to reveal itself in its vastness. We tend to look at life through a one-eye focus, two eyes just focusing forward. But as an astral being, you don't need a two-eye focus. You have a sense of perception far beyond self. So what's going on behind you and in front of you is all in the same picture. These can be explored, but we tend to stick within that subconscious program that we've created. And so while we stay in that subconscious program, we deny our growth as eternal beings. Nature is on this planet, which is the natural evolution of consciousness. We are on this planet, the creative evolution of consciousness. We are creating our own evolution. And when we stop creating our evolution, which we've pretty well done, we stopped creating it, then the whole template has to be broken, and all the parameters that we've set up for ourselves, the borders and boundaries of our restrictions, all have to be broken down so we can enter new paradigms of potential. That's the situation we're in now. Humanity is being broken down. We point the finger, we blame the non-illumined, we blame the 1% who are trying to control us. If the 99% dropped victim consciousness, game's over. Every human being rises to a higher level. It's that simple. While we look outside of ourselves and blame, realize there is nothing outside self. And isn't that interesting? And so to allow for the evolution of self, one of the greatest single things you can do is that by using the greatest power in the universe, is to consciously choose love.